When it comes to the EDC lifestyle, flashlights are very, very popular. And personally, it's a tool that has served me very well back in my days during the 1980s, back in the Boy Scouts. The flashlight was a definite must have when you're out camping or doing stuff in the dark. Now, as far as I know, flashlight technology did not advance so well until the late 1990s or the early 2000s, with a company called Maglite coming out with their series of flashlights, from the large size C batteries right down to the smaller AAA type battery flashlights. So it wasn't until some 20 years ago or 30 years ago when flashlight technology began to evolve to what it is now. And with the advent of LED type flashlights, that's when the popularity of these high tech torches became much more prominent. And so did my personal addiction to flashlights. Although over the years, I've learned to treasure whatever torches or flashlights I've acquired, and I'm basically left with the lights that I truly enjoy and flashlights that I consider useful in my line of work. So, back in the day, as a photojournalist, I needed flashlights to light the dials on a mechanical camera because digital photography wasn't a thing back then and electronic cameras weren't a thing back then. So, it was difficult to see your exposure settings in the dark. And we needed some sort of a light to flash on the dials and knobs and buttons and all those settings. So, a flashlight was definitely a must back in the day. Well, now that the EDC culture has become so popular, flashlight technology has also evolved to a level where the simple torch has become much more than something to light with. It was something to use for search and rescue. It can give you strobing effects, it can give you variable power, and all those other settings that we never had back in the day. So all we had was a flashlight that gave either at the most 20 to 25 lumens, and that was it. Now, modern day flashlights, of course, can do much more than that. And I will show you a few examples of what I actually own and have carried over the years. Also, I will share with you my criteria on how I select flashlights in general. My first criteria for choosing a flashlight is basically the power source. Now, it's very important for me to have a flashlight that will work with a universal power source. Either it's rechargeable or a battery source that can be found anywhere in the world. Now, I have flashlights that are quite finicky in that particular respect. They will not take ordinary batteries and instead a proprietary type of battery source or power source that is designed to fit and work on these particular flashlights. For example, this Lumentop FWAA flashlight. It's a small, tiny, double A style flashlight. But the only problem with this thing, despite the complicated menu system, it has so many functions, so many lighting modes, and the body is made of titanium. But the main problem that I have with this flashlight is it will not work with ordinary, commercially available AA batteries. Now, it will only work with unprotected 14500 battery cells, like this example here. And when they say unprotected, it's a special button on the positive side of the battery. And if you don't use that, these flashlights will not work. So power source is a very important consideration for me. It has to be some sort of a universal power source that I can get anywhere, whether it's a convenience store, it's a camera shop, or the supermarket. It has to be readily available. So with that, I opted for simple flashlights like this Lumentop Tool AAA, which basically works on commercially available AAA type batteries. And at the same time, it will work with specialized lithium ion rechargeable batteries or nickel metal hydride batteries. The same is true with this Bushnell T50L, which also works with commercially available AAA type batteries. So for me, that's very important when selecting flashlight batteries. Now, my oldest LED type flashlight to this day is the Xeno E03, which is basically a double A type flashlight, but it will work with unprotected or protected lithium ion batteries or commercially available double A type batteries and nickel metal hydride battery types. So it's a very universal flashlight in that sense. I can use any power source, and if in a pinch, I can go to a convenience store just to get batteries. This is one of my most treasured and I consider my survival type flashlight. Now, my next criteria for an EDC flashlight is the lowest power or a moonlight setting, in which case there are torches like this Olight S2R Baton 2, which have basically a moonlight mode according to the technical specs should last you in this particular mode, and that looks impressive on paper. But somehow I've had this thing for a few years now, 5 or 6 years now, and somehow this particular rechargeable flashlight, it will last you a long time in between charging cycles, which is why, well, although I don't exactly like the side switch, it's something that I still choose to keep simply because it has the longest run time when it comes to flashlights, or it has the longest running time of any flashlight in my collection. Now, as a daily carry, I stick to either the Bushnell or the Lumen Top Tool AAA. Again, because these flashlights have a low power mode that in certain situations, like if ever there was a grid down scenario and I had to walk home, not knowing how long it's going to take me to get from where I am to the safety of my home, I should have batteries that will last long enough for the entire journey. So that's a major consideration for me. Battery life and the low power mode setting is a very important consideration for me. The final consideration is the form factor. Now, for everyday carry, I will naturally gravitate towards smaller framed, smaller tube flashlights like these two Lumen Top flashlights. Now, I rarely carry this FWAA simply because of the battery requirements, although I can carry a spare lithium ion battery if I wanted to. But for daily carry, my absolute daily carry, regardless of where I am or what I do, is this Lumen Top Tool AAA. So it goes with me practically everywhere. So form factor, as you can see, it's just about as big as, not much larger than an AA cell battery. So that's one thing. Another is it has to be pocketable. Like the largest pocketable flashlight that I will get would be something like this E03, although it's the same double A powered flashlight, but it should be one of the larger types or one of the largest flashlights I will carry in my pockets. Size and weight are a major factor when it comes to incorporating a particular flashlight in my everyday carry system. Now, this Olight, although it's just about as big as the Xeno, is considerably heavier because of its battery source, which is an 18650 lithium ion cell. So size and weight is a major consideration for me. And least of all, although I do love these particular flashlights, for rescue operations or if ever I need to go downrange, for some reason, I will pick flashlights like this Solar Force L2 series of flashlight, in which I've attached a therm switchback. It's very secure in the hand, and if need be, I can use it as a defensive tool. Now, if ever I'm going hot and heavy, so to speak, downrange, I will pick something like this Solar Force L2 fitted with an M3 flashlight head. So this is the largest flashlight that I have, again with a forward click switch and a signet ring. So flashlights this big will feel more secure in the hand with the ring attached to it. In fact, I like generally a ring on flashlights that I carry just to give me a secure handhold. So that would be the last of my criteria when it comes to an everyday carry flashlight. Although these big monster flashlights for me aren't necessarily for everyday carry, but they still fall into that particular EDC space. So that's about all of my handheld flashlights, and my other flashlight actually lives in my bump helmet. I attach a flashlight to my bump helmet just so I have a hands-free light if ever I'm in a situation where I have to work hands-free. Let's say if I'm treating a patient during a special operation or something like that. So I do have another flashlight which is mounted on my lid. Now, I forgot to mention, I have one more pocket torch which now lives permanently in my survival kit, and it's the Jet Beam Mini 1. Now, technically, this is called a keychain flashlight, and the nice thing about it is, well, it used to live in my keychain, but now I decided to incorporate this into my survival kit. So if ever in a pinch, I'll have something to light with in a dire emergency. And the nice thing about small keyring flashlights these days is that they cannot be underestimated in terms of lumens, and they come as multifunction tools also. So they have modes like a strobing mode and a low light setting. So I can use this during a long hike or to get out of a dark place without worrying about the light going down. So in its lowest setting, this particular flashlight should run for a few hours as compared to a larger high-powered flashlight which might actually run for only minutes and at the same time overheat. Now, the advantage of lower powered flashlights would be they'll be able to run a long time without the danger of overheating. And the nice thing about flashlights like these is that they are rechargeable via USB-C. So if you had something like a power bank on you, and I particularly carry power banks just for that purpose and not necessarily for the phone because I hardly ever use my phone anyway. I keep a power bank handy for devices like my flashlights and nothing more. So that's a rundown of my everyday carry flashlights, or the flashlights that I own as of this time. I feel like I already have a decent selection of flashlights on me, whether it's for everyday carry, whether it's for specialized work. I already have the tools, I already have the flashlights that I want, and I don't know, I just don't feel like buying anymore as of this point. So there you have it, my guide to your flashlight selection if ever you're getting into the everyday carry lifestyle for the first time, or if you're looking to get a newer flashlight. As I said, this is not a review channel. I'm merely giving you a rundown of how I do things, and maybe hopefully they should help you out in your choice of flashlight, whether it's for everyday carry or for the outdoors or whatever purpose it may serve you. And let me just thank you guys who've been very supportive of the channel. I think we've gone from 706 as of last count to 726 as of this recording. Hopefully, before the year ends, we hit the 1,000 mark. Just the same, thank you so much for supporting this humble channel. Thank you for your likes and subscriptions. And that's been the long and the short of it. This has been Absabando for Manila Sentinel. Raw, stay in the light.
Flight 100, maintain runway heading, climb 3,000 feet, runway 13, clear for immediate takeoff.